secure all the funds necessary, but the main initial thing was a major donation of Sami Ofer for the underground hospital. So this actually started it. But the first thing that happened during the war, at the second week of the war, I get a call from Glasgow with a question of, which I wasn't really sure who called me, was a lawyer, if we need a children's hospital. Now, there was nothing in planning for a children's hospital. We had a smaller one, old one, but it was not the priority. But of course, if somebody asked me, what will I tell? Go to Tel Aviv. So I told them, of course, we need a children's hospital. They will call you on Sunday. And in truth, they called me on Sunday. It was the Rappaport family. And this children's hospital, so this was the first large donation to a children's hospital by the Rappaport family. The Rappaport Faculty of Medicine, the same family. It's after Ruth Rappaport, who's 93 and for many more years to be alive and kicking, as we know her. And it's really beautiful hospital. Became to be. So this really started with the Sami Ofer, started all this process. So the concept is of this new campus is to have a clinical campus in the middle of all the clinical campus, next to the Faculty of Medicine. And so far we have done, the underground hospital is finished, done. You will see it in your visit. The other buildings which have been, this is the first one that was opened 2014. It has all the disciplines in pediatrics and including surgery. By the way, just yesterday they finished a very unique kidney transplant here of a child that actually died in Sheba Medical Center, 2-year-old child, and it was implanted in an 11-year-old child here at Rambam. So because of the mismatch of the size, so a small kidney cannot really fulfill, so they put 2 kidneys in one patient. It's a unique, very initial operation. We have superb teams, creative, imaginary, and so I think that this is a really beautiful hospital. If you see it around throughout the floors, this is a hospital where the children come and they don't want to go home. And when they're called to the doctors, they don't care about getting to the doctors. They're busy with their games in the waiting area. So it's really, so this is what started. Next to us is a cancer building, Fishman Cancer Building, which is actually not finished, but also a huge advancement of treatment of cancer here, the only cancer center in the north of Israel right now. And also a cardiovascular hospital which needs to be built. It's the skeletal building, if you saw it on the entrance here. Now, in the middle of all this campus, and that is the great concept that we want to share, and that's the concept that we have at university, we have this health discovery tower, biomedical discovery tower. And the concept of this would be to have a tower for research. It's basically research. We have so much need in the hospital for research space, despite the fact that we have some collaboration with the Technion, we have some research labs at the Faculty of Medicine, we have our own research institute here, but still there's huge needs for more research floors. So this is a 20-story building, and I'm very happy that with our partnership with the university, we will be able to share this hospital for clinical floors. We'll have 6 clinical floors. There will be another 2 research floors for Rambam. There will be 6 research floors, and for the research and education and faculty, it's up to the decision of the university in that building. And also some floors that will be also dedicated to high-tech, to companies, to industry, to startup industry, to incubators that will actually be able to take the intellectual property from scientists, from university, from Technion, from Rambam, and when people work together, you have many more ideas that come and flow through. So I think this is really a hub that will be a major motto in creating industry around us. As you know, Haifa is declared as a life science city. They have a biotech park at the entrance. So all of this, what we do at the university, at the Technion, at Rambam, at other hospitals, will actually feed this industry with ideas And I'm sure that ideas will be coming through at a much higher pace than it was before, because I see what's coming already and I see how it's going all the time. So I think for now I will let you see a short movie, and then we'll have I think we have a plan. Dr. Professor Lior Levenstein will follow up with research presentations.
Situated on Israel's coast, in a city as rich in beauty as it is in history, sit two world-renowned institutions, the crown jewels of Haifa, great sources of pride to the city's residents and the citizens of Israel. Introducing the 20-story Health Discovery Tower, a strategic partnership between Rambam Healthcare Campus, Northern Israel's 1,000-bed world-class teaching hospital, and the University of Haifa, the largest comprehensive research university in Northern Israel. The Health Discovery Tower, to be built on the Rambam campus, will combine excellent clinical medicine, excellent basic research, and leading applied research technologies to translate research expertise into novel therapies for the most critical global human afflictions. University researchers will have access to Rambam's clinical research resources such as imaging devices, genetic testing, and advanced equipment systems. Rambam and the University of Haifa will each be allocated 6 consecutive floors of the 20-story Health Discovery Tower. A further 2 floors will be assigned to the Technion Israel Institute of Technology. The Health Discovery Tower will also provide state-of-the-art facilities for interaction with the innovative biomedical and medical technology industry in the city of Haifa, harnessing drug and device development from startups and established companies, encouraging scientific exchanges, and fostering national and international collaborations. The project will serve as an engine for the economic and scientific growth of the life sciences industry, a historic opportunity to advance human health and well-being through creativity, collaboration, and convergence in research discovery.
Okay. Good afternoon. Allow me to introduce myself. You hear? It's okay? I am Dr. Anat Gesser-Edelsburg from the University of Haifa, and I'm the head of the Health Promotion Program at School of Public Health, as well as the founding director of the Center for Health and Risk Communication. My areas of expertise are health communication, risk communication, entertainment education, and social marketing. I am very grateful to have been invited here today to introduce Haifa University Center for Health and Risk Communication. I will present an overview of our work at the center, while focusing more specifically on the research we are currently conducting with Lior Levenstein, clinical associate professor here at Rambam Healthcare Campus. Health risks are connected to whole life cycle, pandemics, air pollutions, hospital-acquired infections, climate change, genetically modified foods, chemical and consumer goods, etc. We are a multidisciplinary center dedicated to the promotion of research, theory, and the practice of health and risk communication. The Health and Risk Communication Research Center at the University of Haifa is the only center of its kind in Israel. The center's faculty includes researchers from Israel and abroad from different disciplines. Our research combines theoretical studies with applied method to improve health and risk communication in Israel. The need for the innovative discipline of health and risk communication emerged from the rapid growth of both the mass scientific knowledge and the number and variety of technological means available to mass distribute it. Scientific progress alone is not sufficient to catalyze mass public health promoting behavior. The key difference in actual outcomes in the field is caused only through effective research-based communication with increasingly knowledgeable public. Health knowledge is no longer exclusive due to the internet and the new media revolution. The main challenge is how health organizations and authorities can effectively communicate health risk in a world of changing public sphere and to diverse community. One-way communication in the form of unilateral supply information is no longer an effective means of delivering messages and affecting behavior. There is a need to bridge the gap between health organizations' understanding and application of effective health communication practices. Our center promotes effective health and risk communication through three following key values: research-based communication, promoting transparency, fostering trust between the public and the scientific community to enable wise, informed decision-making. One of the studies we conducted concerned a case of polio outbreak in Israel in 2013, in which parents whose children had already been given inactivated polio vaccine were asked to bring the children in for additional dose of an oral polio vaccine. This was done to prevent a widespread epidemic of polio.
Israel parents are being urged to take their children for a polio booster after the virus was discovered in sewage. So far, there have been no reported clinical cases. The virus was found in a treatment plant in the south and then detected in the north, indicating that it spread throughout the country. Israeli President Shimon revealed that one of his children had had polio and encouraged parents to get the booster. In my family, one of our children was a victim of polio. It was when he was 8 months old. There was an epidemic in Israel. I don't wish it upon anyone to have to go through those 3 days and 3 nights like that.
However, miscommunication of the goals and lack of transparency, which parents nowadays have come to expect as a basic right, led many parents who are usually pro-vaccination to hesitate or refrain from the vaccine altogether. Another study we conducted demonstrates how effective communication by high-ranking politicians can have a direct effect on public health by propelling health organizations into action.
I have to tell you, too, the president very strong in his comments today. He's going to send 3,000 servicemen and women over to West Africa to deal with this. He wants to spend a lot of money fighting it. He sounded very strong this afternoon. Listen to this.
In West Africa, Ebola is now an epidemic of the likes that we have not seen before. It's spiraling out of control. It is getting worse. It's spreading faster and exponentially.
In addition to research, we hold conferences on various health communication-related issues that attract academics, practitioners, and media coverage. We have a multidisciplinary international team, including some of the world's leaders in the diverse fields that have implication on health and risk communication, such as Professor Gustavo Mash, Professor Afi Biar, Professor Dan Ariely, Dr. Kira Radinsky, and Professor Fishoff. We are now conducting research in cooperation with Rambam Hospital, as well as Hadassah and Bnei Zion hospitals to study hospital-acquired infections. As you know, hospital-acquired infections are one of the most crucial issues in public health today, and there have been many interventions whose purpose is to decrease their incidence. Those of us who engage in research of the issue understand that while it is an epidemiological issue, there is also a real need to invest in effective communication impact behavior if we are to reduce this major cause of morbidity and mortality. We at the Center for Health and Risk Communication Research are studying an innovative and highly effective approach known as a PD, positive deviance, on which my colleague, Professor Singal, will expand. Finally, I would like to thank to the distinguished Board of Governors that have invited us here today. I would be very happy to meet with each and every one of you personally to tell you more about this important aspect of public health. It is now my pleasure to introduce the distinguished guest of the Health and Risk Communication Research Center, Dr. Arvind Singal, Professor of Communication and Director of the Social Justice Initiative in the Department of Communication at the University of Texas at El Paso. He is also the William J. Clinton Distinguished Fellow at the Clinton School of Public Service in Little Rock, Arkansas. He will share with us highlights of his unique and diverse work. Professor Singal, please go ahead.
I'll use the microphone. Thank you, Dr. Anat, and it's a great honor for me to be here, especially as one solidifies this collaboration, the formation of the Discovery Building. I want to expound a little on what I believe in my 30 plus years of work in the area of health communication as being one of the most versatile and one of the most efficacious problem-solving strategy that I have come across. I have worked on it for the last 11 years. It's a strategy that we call the positive deviance approach, and that is the collaboration that we have between the University of Haifa's Center for Health and Risk Communication, run by Anat, and the three medical centers here in Israel, Hadassah, Venezion, and of course the location where we are, Rambam Medical Center. May I ask how many of us may have heard about the positive deviance approach to change? We have the rector, Gustavo, because we had lunch with him yesterday. And, which basically means I can get away with anything. Let me share with you a couple of narrative stories so that as opposed to giving you a bulleted PowerPoint, I'll tell you three little stories and let's see if you can wrap your head around what the positive deviance approach is. When President Lincoln, 150 years ago, was asked by a soldier, the Union soldier, with whom President Lincoln was shaking hands. The handshake was like this for the soldier. For President Lincoln, it was like this. The soldier shook his hand and said, "Oh, Mr. President, you're tall. How tall are you?" And President Lincoln, without blinking an eye, said, "Son, like you, tall enough that my feet reach the ground." That was the wisdom of Lincoln, that when he was asked a question, he saw things in a very different way. We as experts usually measure height. May I ask how tall you are? 1 meter and 84 centimeters. You could have just said 184, and we would have known it's meters and centimeters. Or you could have said 6 feet, 1 inch, and we would have known what that is. We as experts are very precise about I'm taller than you, you're shorter than me, etc. But President Lincoln was looking at height from a very different point of view. So the positive deviance approach is a very different way of asking and answering questions, especially to solve very complex problems. So that's one story. The second story, when Mother Teresa was asked, we should call her Saint Teresa, and I had a correspondence relationship with Mother Teresa that lasted for a decade, so I was privileged to be in her presence many times. When she was asked in 1974, when she was visiting Washington, D.C., Mother, tomorrow we are having a march in Washington, would you march with us? And she asked, well, my child, what is the march about? They said, well, we are marching against the Vietnam War. So when she was asked, would you march with us against the Vietnam War, she said, I am so sorry, my child, if you're going to have a march in Washington against the Vietnam War, I am very sorry. And then when she was pressed, why wouldn't you march with us for this good cause? She said, if you're having a march against the Vietnam War, I am sorry, but if you were to choose to have a march in Washington for peace, I will be the first to lead. So in Mother Teresa's conception, being against the war or being for peace are very different scenarios and different frames. And the positive deviance approach actually asks the question more from the perspective of what are you for? Because we, as trained, folks who work in medicine or in social medicine or in health communication, we are problem solvers, which means we begin by asking, what are we against? What's the problem? What are the deficits? What are the gaps? What are the positive deviance approach asks the question in a very different way. So we have applied the positive deviance approach by asking questions in a very different way. So for instance, we've done work in many countries in the area of nutrition, and we have asked, are there some children under the age of 5 who belong to the poorest of the poor families, but who for some strange reason are well nourished? So these are positive outliers, because if there are well-nourished children among the poorest of the poor, they are deviations, they are deviants because the norm is that you'll be malnourished, but they are positive because they have solved the problem. So the premise is somebody here today has solved the problem, and you don't need to bring an expert from the outside, because if you can figure out why a poor mother can keep a child healthy, even if she is an outlier, you can find out the answer to this problem that you're trying to solve. In summary, I will just say this. We have applied the positive deviance approach to many vexing problems, including hospital-acquired infections. We worked with a slate of 6 hospitals, which included Johns Hopkins and others, to look at the reduction of hospital-acquired infections. And in 3 years, by employing this positive deviance approach with articles that were published in JAMA or the New England Journal of Medicine or other prestigious sources, we were able to reduce hospital-acquired infections in these pilot hospitals by 60 to 70%. And I think that is in some ways the promise of the new idea, which in some ways the collaboration between Rambam and the University of Haifa, given we have a project, can basically cement, is to see how we can apply new ways of thinking, new ways of discovering solutions by asking different questions, and hence finding answers that we would not have come up with. So I'll end by basically saying that Steven Spielberg used to say that the camera denies the existence of what it does not see. And if we don't ask questions such as, are there children who come from the poorest and poor families and who are well nourished, we will not see the solutions that already exist. If we don't ask the question, are there some nurses or doctors or therapists who have solved the problem of infection control, we will not be able to see the solutions. Thank you very much.